Hey y'all, it's your boy the Talk with Jay. Welcome back to another video. Hope y'all had a good night rest, and hope y'all accomplished, as I always say, hope y'all accomplished everything y'all had set out to do today, and keep striving for your goals. You will achieve them. So for today, so for today's video, it's good. It's something that I've recently taken quite interesting, and that is investing. And this is for all people who watch this video and are interested and are thinking, how do I get started in investing? Well, this video is for you. I'm here with my guest, Anesia,
Hi.
and today's video, we will get her experience as a trader slash investor in the stock market in America and possibly in Guyana. So Anicia, my first
Hi, Jonathan.
hello,
Hello to you.
how was your day?
My day went well. I'm happy to be here and I'm very excited to share what I have with you and your audience. Thank you for having me.
Anytime, no problem. So my first question to you is, how did you get how did you get involved in trading or in the stock market in general?
That's a very good question. Now, let's take you back to 2020. In 2020, I was a teacher and the pandemic had recently happened. And so we were home and we were teaching online via Zoom. So a couple of days went by, a couple of weeks went by, and then what happened in Guyana in the backdrop is that since we were like already in a recession, you had a lot of scammers coming forward with scams left and right, scams on WhatsApp, scams on Facebook, all of these kinds of things, anything that they can get to have somebody give their money to them, the scammer. Right?
Yeah,
So the backdrop is that we had an MLN scam, right? Multi-level marketing, where you would have to, as an investor, quote unquote, their investor, you would come and you would have an initial capital, you would give it to them, right? And that person would act to be a broker. Then you would have to recruit two other persons to come and be a part of it and also place their own money there.
yeah,
Mind you, this time, as they're placing their money in, you're actually cashing out on them. So they know it is left for them to now recruit two other persons
so
or four other
so
persons
you're paying them, which
to
is
be a
the
broker for you.
yes,
Right?
that doesn't make sense.
No, and the thing is, the returns were not necessarily guaranteed because there was a loophole. If one person should just decide that, okay, this month I'll pay my rent instead of actually putting it into this giving circle scheme, what will happen then? So fast forward, I received a message on my phone. This person, they were very good with their words. They said they wanted to have some US dollars. They wanted me to deliver my money to them, US dollars, so they can then in turn buy Bitcoin and invest it on my behalf. I'm like, this seems very sketchy. Let me
Smooth
figure
criminal.
out.
Shout
Yeah, that's exactly it.
shout out Michael Jackson.
Yes. So what happened then is that I decided to, with the backdrop of this given circle in Guyana, nothing is really 100%. I decided to do some investigation for it. And that is the first thing as an investor you need to do before you place any of your capital into any asset class. You need to figure out, okay, what am I going into? You need to do your due diligence. Okay. So, yes, I found out that they were scammers. So I said to myself, you know what? I want to know what is this Bitcoin thing and how I can get some returns. And so that started my journey into inquiring what is Bitcoin, how it is traded, the stock market. I didn't know there was a big financial world like that. And I became Alice that fell down the rabbit hole. Here I am today. So that's the history of it.
Okay, Now, you briefly touched on my next question, which is what are the drawbacks and the negativities of becoming a trader?
Okay, that's quite simple to answer. Okay, one of the drawbacks that you have, one of the many drawbacks you have, is you first placing your initial capital into an asset class. You have to figure out, okay, am I a risk person or am I risk averse? Right? And sometimes you never really notice that or feel the depth of it unless you would have already placed your capital. Secondly, with that, it's that, okay, you're now new to this world, this investing world. You need to know information should be at your disposal. You need to know how to use information. And for the fact that you have a learning curve to go over, that in itself is a drawback because you can have one or two trades that goes to your advantage, and then you could have a whole series of trades that are not necessarily favorable to you because you did not do your investigation. So the drawback is that, okay, first you need to have your initial capital. Many persons are disenfranchised from having initial capital in the first place. They do not have enough money. This is a liquid market, and so it takes money to make money. So on that same vein of thought, you actually figuring out, okay, if you're risk averse or not. And then thirdly, now, one of the drawbacks is that you think that the riches that you'll gain overnight should come overnight for you. It's not necessarily like that. Many times they have this popular saying that says, okay, time in the market, being a part of the market for years on end, seeing the ebbs and flows of the market is very advantageous to you than just timing the market, getting a few trades. So as an investor, the drawback is that you need to know how much money you're placing into an asset after doing your due diligence. If you do not do that, it's going to start something psychological with you. And so you'll feel like you don't want to trade. And then there's the learning curve that you must go over.
Okay, now part two. Well, well, for those who don't know the terminology, can you explain what a risk averse and a
Okay.
risk?
Okay, if you're a risk taker now, it means that, okay, your initial money that you invest, you do not mind losing a portion of it, right? You are risk averse now. Is that okay? You know you cannot stand to lose $10 of your money. You know that you shouldn't have any business with investing. If you're a risk taker, then you do not mind if 20% of that initial startup capital goes down the drain. If that makes sense to you.
Okay, now to segue into that, during your time as an investor, what are your favorite trading platforms to use?
Oh, all right. So we started off with Robinhood. Then then there's something called there's a platform called Thinkorswim that recently changed into Charles Schwab. So back then, there's Trading View. Trading View can be used as a tool to measure the ebbs and flows of the market using charts. So there's Trading View that I like. I use it on to today. It's very, very instrumental for me my everyday work. And then you have Robinhood. Now, Robinhood is a good broker, but oftentimes they tend to like do insider trading, back trading, whereby you don't get much returns on it. You get a chance to put a lot of money on it, right? But there are other I used one up to recently. It's called Ninja Trader, and we trade futures on that platform. So there's Ninja Trader. Um,
Robinhood.
there is Robinhood, thank you, and then there is Trading View. Those three should do good for you.
Okay, have you ever had any negative experiences on this platform, whether it be the customer service or the lack of UI?
All right, yes. All right, so the customer service for Ninja Trader is very good, very smooth. Now, albeit what happens at times is that it's very glitchy and sometimes tend to not come on. And that's the problem if you have a position already open, right? You're going to be fretting, frustrated. So that's just part of it. Continue.
Okay. Now, for those that are skeptical about trading, or they see the market going up and down, what are some misconceptions
Uh,
that you would like to address about trading?
Okay. So let's picture this. Today, you're starting off as a newbie, an investor. You do not have all the information to your disposal. You may not know what even to search for. Just understand that it's an educational learning curve that you have to overcome, and that can only happen with time. Okay? That can only happen with time. So, did I answer your question?
Yeah,
Okay.
and since you've been on the journey, do you see yourself doing this for the next 10 to 15 years?
Yes, I do see myself doing this. I don't want to use the term loosely love trading, but I appreciate it for what it can do. It's a tool to use money to make money. And then
Now,
I have real assets, equity, right? Real ownership in parts and pieces of companies.
now this leads into my next question. What do you hope to achieve by trading, whether it be stocks, futures, or Bitcoin?
Okay. It will be stocks. I like owning parts of a company. And so, with that, I can see that trading can set me on a trajectory to have my own home, to be able to fund a new entrepreneurship deal that I have, fund a business that I've already started. It's just like it's a tool to use to make money, right? So, with that, it can grant me the opportunity to go on the vacations that I would like to go with my family. It opens up a world to you because you get to meet people who are like-minded thinkers. You never know where you'll be for a brunch, right? So trading has its pros and cons, but it's much more positive once you spend enough time in the market.
Okay, and then during your time as a trader or an investor,
Yes, I am both.
have you encountered any negative experiences?
Oh yes, I've had many, many losing streaks. I've had lot more winning streaks, but also it's depending on what phase the market is in and what information you have at your disposal. Remember, we are retail traders, right? We are expected to react to institutions already making their own trade. So they have algorithms, they have indicators that they use that best puts them to a greater advantage than us. So with that, there are going to be drawbacks. You're going to have times that you're having a losing streak because there's some news altering stimulus that causes prices suddenly just turn in a whole different direction than than you thought, and so your bias has now changed. So with that, it's that the trading, you have to stay in it for the long term, and it's the average of larger numbers. What does that mean? Okay, if you're to say, okay, between the next 100 days, I'll mark how many times I made a trade that was favorable for me. It gave me returns. Then those trades that did not. Now you're going to have, if you make the first 100, you may not come to a number that is favorable to you. But if you continue to do it months on end, years on end, you'll find that it's about 50%. If we're to think of it like using the analogy of coins, if you flip it over, it'll turn 50 times on its head and 50 times on its tail. So, what does that say? How is that translated into the stock market? Is that you would have to have experience in the market to then see that those trades on average will work out in your favor 50% of the time.
Okay, so you covered a broad aspect of the market. Now, part two to this question would be,
Oops, that's my phone.
any
It fell.
yeah, that's fine. Any negatives in the interpersonal trading experiences?
Yes, there are many times that you would have to go back to your books. You would have a bad day. You want to know what happened in the market. And sometimes it can have this psychological hold on you. Like, okay, I'm not making money this week in the market. The market is going crazy. Perhaps that we have limited information, hence we can't make those trades. Perhaps we're also at a disadvantage because institutions from time to time buy at arbitrary places. And so where you would think you can essentially get in, the market has gotten buyers from a different place, right? And so sometimes what can happen in real time is that you can have the market tanking and it will disrespect certain areas where you're supposed to enter as a buyer, and it will pick up buyers from below or decide to set some orders on the order flow that are advantageous to them for them to get in. So that's kind of the thing with trading. Spend enough time in the market, and then you'll begin to work through the little nuances that the market has. I
Okay.
was able to answer that question.
Now you kind of answered my next question. Any coping methods?
Yes, coping methods. You'd have to go sometimes and sit you down in a dark room and figure out what it you want with trading, what it you want with life, and what is the next reading material that you should consume to help you learn a little more about this market that is relatively new to me because I'm still a young trader in the grand scheme of things. You would have had people who are years down the line who probably have therapists and so on. As a big time trader for the New York Stock Exchange, they would have therapists. They would have um, persons who are working within their department that helps them to mitigate their risk or manage their risk by even talking things out, talking the trades out. So they must have somebody that can hold you accountable. They must have somebody that you can be vulnerable with to tell, for you to express where your mindset and your headspace is at.
Okay.
So I go through books, or sometimes I'd have to sit down and say, you know what, I'm going to take 2 or 3 days off of the market because clearly there has been a change in sentiment of this market. Perhaps I should do some more digging to figure out in the news what has caused this change to be so rapid. For example, now this is going to take you a little back outside. Um, the S&P 500, we were in the all-time highs last week, around $695. This week, we were expecting it to go higher. I was expecting it to go higher, but the market came lower. Now the market came lower, and that's because many persons now are taking some of their money out of the index, out of stocks, and are now placing them into either selling options, put calls and options, or even going over to a better risk averse asset class, and that is the bonds. The bonds, the government bonds, the municipal bonds, the corporate bonds. The bonds is like an IOU. You pay them, you give the government money so that they can, in turn, do whatever they please with it, and they'll give you back an annualized return, whether it's for 2 year, 3 year, 5 year, 7 year, 10 year, right? So what happens is that when institutions are taking out their money out of the S&P 500, oftentimes they're placing it into the options market to sell puts, or are taking it and transferring it to a safer asset class, which is the bonds. So all of that could be happening in the background, and it's causing your trade in real time to be messed up because they're reallocating their portfolio. But now, as retailers, we're expected not to predict the move, but to react to the move.
Okay, and final question. I know that you're early in the trading game, but what
Yes.
is your biggest takeaway so far on your journey as a trader?
All right.
As a trader.
And I'd like to speak to you guys very closely with this one. That's my phone again. Okay, we're not gonna think about that. We're gonna think about what I'm saying. No, I'm saying that you and I, all of us, are investors. We decide to trade our money for time, or we're going to trade our money for more money. So, with that, in the same vein, we have to understand this fundamentally. We need to be students in the broader institution of learning, and that is life of itself. Think of life as the institution or the school of learning. So, we are forever a student until our last brain cell dies. So that simply means that you'd have enough time for whatever, however God wants to give you that time, those periods of years and so on, to actively just learn a new skill, use more neurons, create more neural pathways, right? Be a student of learning.
I like that. Very good advice. So, guys,
You wanted to ask me something about Guyana, right? Go
uh,
ahead when you finish.
um, so guys, this is the end of the video, but I do have one more question I would like to ask. How do you see the Guyana, well, people reacting to the Guyanese stock market within the next 5 years?
Now, I like this question. This question requires me to ponder and think a lot because I'm going to talk about subsets of people. You have a small subset of financially literate persons that are in Guyana, Guyanese, that know about the stock market, that are actively investing in the stock market, that actively have companies that are traded on the stock market. And then you have a subset of others that are not necessarily too keen on it. So they may be aware of it, but the know how, the way to maneuver to get into the market, there's a disconnect there, right? But to answer your question, if they have more sensitization, if GASKI, the Ghana Stock Exchange, can actively market to the people of Guyana in a way that is much more palatable for them. The information is it's so large and vast. You need it to be simplified and condensed and summarized so that active anybody that wants to know about the market can actually just place $30 Guyanese dollars into purchasing just a piece of a company. So with that, if they have much sensitization marketing, you will have an influx of Guyanese investing in the near future.
Okay, and to bring up, to kind of hammer home your point, if, like, let's say the gas key was here right now, what would you want to say directly to them?
Okay, first, I would thank them for the work that they're doing already. The fact that they're able to facilitate trades, they're able to even capture a part of the US market as a part of their um, initial portfolio. They trade, right? They have companies, Chinese companies that are traded, but they also have regional companies, and then they have European companies that are that they have as a basket of a basket, an ETF. But we'll talk about ETF and what that means in another time. But really, they're trying to have a piece of the European market, a piece of the regional market, and a larger amount of the Guyanese market. So, really, what they have in hindsight, I would say it's a balanced portfolio of companies that they can have available for everyday investors like me and you to look into and want to actually invest a portion of our money into capital.
Okay, guys, this has been today's video. I hope you learned a lot. And if you have any further questions, where can they reach you at?
Okay, they can text you back on YouTube and then you can forward those messages to me because I
Okay.
don't tend to put my phone number out there like that, but I can answer them at any
Okay,
other
guys,
time.
you heard. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments. I'll forward them to her, and
Yes.
she will get she'll get back to you. Hope you guys like this video. Like and subscribe. And as I always say, I hope you accomplish your goals and hope you achieve everything you have set out to do this week.
This week.
And remember, y'all are loved, and we love you guys. Like and subscribe and peace.
Boom.